Welcome back to HR Unplugged. We are so excited to have you back for the latest edition. I am joined today by Kevin Black. He has a long career in HR, but he has been at Maximus with us for 10 years. So he and I have worked together for at least the past 4. I absolutely enjoy every one of my interactions with Kevin, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. So welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, Michelle.
All right. So the first question I have to kick things off, we had our HR summit. We're talking more and more about the year of the manager and starting to position and shape that for our employees. Part of why we've done that and made that focus is because we feel like the manager is so essential to everything that we do. They are the direct line to our workforce. They are an important part of every employment journey. And so when you think about that year of the manager, what pain points do you think managers might encounter that we could really target in addressing the year of the manager?
Sure. Yeah, I think that our managers really are quite busy all the time, and I think that we are driving lots of culture change in our organization. So I think that we have to help them find a balance between their operational duties and their people manager duties. I think that we really just need to consider giving them the gift of time to do those things.
I think your point is a valid one, Kevin. I look at it and even things like timekeeping, right? Something as simple as timekeeping, and then you have all that you have to do daily, right? Those types of things are comprehensive. Managing for attendance, comprehensive, and something you're dealing with all the time. But then you also have all of the things that HR puts on our employees, right? Performance appraisals and making sure you're having conversations and career setting and career goal setting. There's a lot that we're putting on them ourselves. And then, Maximus, a lot of our managers work in either a call center environment or a consulting environment. They have massive delivery issues, right? That they are constantly managing. I don't want to call them issues. It's more, they're managing for the delivery of the business. And so invariably, I think your point is a good one in that their day is chock full. And so, what are some of the other things that you see them facing besides sort of the normal kind of day in and day out rhythms?
Well, I think as we drive our culture, as we implement a more employee focused culture, we're asking them to really take on and treat with the same level of responsibility that they do the project deliverable SLAs. And equipping them with the tools, giving them the right when you staff these centers and whatnot, giving them the right number of staff to not overburdening them with larger teams than they can really handle, and emphasizing that it is part of their role and giving them the tools and equipping them to do the work. I think that is the biggest gift we can give to them, and emphasizing that and making it an expectation.
That's good. During the pandemic, Kevin, I feel like everything changed in terms of people bringing them their whole selves to work. And so suddenly as a manager, I mean, you lead a pretty large team in working with them. It used to be you sort of dealt with just work issues, but now it feels like people are here I am. You are dealing with my issues with my children, my parents, my spouse, everything that they are carrying with them sort of comes with them all fully into the workplace. And whether it's health issues or, emotional issues, you are sort of the support infrastructure for that person. Do you feel like you've noticed as big of a change, and how are you and your team showing up for that?
Sure. That's a great question. I definitely, and even fast forward post-pandemic, now you have managers who manage some staff in person and some staff virtually. So it's a skill set that I think we're starting to gain some muscle in as a company. But I think that it's so counter to our history and to every company's history that we have to continue to work on the skill set. So I think helping leaders realize that they have this trauma, they have to make sure that they're intentional in terms of making the connection still. They have their most important job really is to help folks do their work the best they can, but also they have the pressure of meeting project deliverables and SLAs. Those are important. That's how we work as a company. They have to meet those, but they have to achieve that work through the employees that they manage, and just being there for them, making sure that they have good access to, tools, EAPs and other types of tools, and good consulting and consultation from their business partners is a big part of that.
Yeah, agree. I feel like nowadays people have to show up with empathy, right? Like it used to be you could be a manager and you could be the policy police and you could be like, okay, you missed this absent, like you were absent, it was unplanned, here's like your check mark against you. And now you sort of have to seek to understand, like, hey, what's going on? And it's lovely in that it's a way more humane process. But how do you teach empathy? Like that's I think going to be one of our biggest challenges, is helping people understand that like the most effective supervisors and leaders are the ones who do exactly what you do with your teams. Like you take the time to listen, you take the time to understand, and you do lead with empathy. Past empathy, I would also just add that I feel like you and your team do such a great job of understanding that there are business commitments that have to be met, but that, we need to treat people like they're people.
For sure. And I think it shows up in the culture that we're trying to drive. So, it's modeled by you and Bruce and the other EC members. And I think that is really, it gives us as business partners, real role models and examples that we can point to, in terms of our culture change and shift. And it definitely helps as we go through and have better conversations around some of the issues that our staff members are facing day to day, and we apply that to the policy sets that we have, and we try to find the best fit line for everyone as we go through this.
When you and I were starting out our careers just a hot minute ago, we had to choose whether or not we wanted to be a generalist or a specialist. And I think about that because I remember being, much younger and thinking, okay, who would want to be a specialist? Like, who would want to do the same thing all day when you could be a generalist and dabble in a little bit of everything? And so the generalist appeal was really high for me. And then later on, I actually did a very long stint in comp and benefits and loved it. Like, I went into that specialist angle. And to this day, like, my area, if you ask me what my area of expertise is, I will tell you executive comp, because I just loved it. But today it's a little bit different for generalists, right? Like the opportunities, like there's so many centers of excellence in the workforce and like areas of specialization that having sort of broad knowledge in some ways is less helpful. And so now we're looking almost from a generalist perspective to start adding a little bit more depth into like key areas and starting to think about how do we keep the breadth but gain some depth. And so, when you think about the HR generalist, how do you see that role evolving and where do you see it heading?
Sure. I think historically here at Maximus, and really I think in a lot of organizations, generalists really have identified, really closely with the line of business that they support. And I think that is true here at Maximus. And I think it is one of the, one of our, I think it's deep in our DNA, and I think it's a really valuable thing to have, our knowledge of how the business works and how the partners actually achieve their objectives. I think as we think about the evolving role of an HR generalist here, or as we gravitate more towards centralization of different functions and services that we provide to our customers, I think generalists will have to maintain that knowledge of the business, but we have to gravitate towards a more strategic partnering type of skill set. So you could strategic partnering, coach consultant type of skill set. I was just reading an article, that the Gardner Group put out about it was about the status of HR, and specifically they were looking at the HR business partner role, and they kind of identified the HR business partner as four different roles. One is a operations manager. One is an emergency responder, and one is an employee mediator, and the other is a strategic partner. And that really resonates with me. I think that today our HR generalists probably line up in all four of those categories. I see a real strength for us probably in the first three. I think we're going to have to build some muscle around more strategic partnering, especially as we look at the types of strategy things, initiatives that we're driving for the corporation, and how we manage going forward will be influenced. You will have to hone our influencing and coaching skills. We'll have to learn how to deliver strategic types of solutions to our clients and really influence them to kind of embrace that as we change our model, as we gravitate more towards technology consulting and clinical services and other things outside of our normal BPO type of offerings.
That's good. I often think about people who've got to break into the field of HR or break into any organization, to be honest with you. And you're one of those people who you have two very brilliant children who are both in college and doing quite well for themselves. But one of the things that's really impressed me by our discussions on them is they've been very successful in landing really good internships. And, internships, I still think, remain a pillar of that transition between college and getting your first real job. And so, how have you encouraged them? How have you, what are some of the things, I guess I would say, that you're helping them through in terms of thinking about that next opportunity or getting those internships?
Well, truthfully, I'm the old dad, right? So, so the way we did internships was completely different. I laugh because, I think of the number of, unpaid internships that I did as an undergraduate and graduate student with real experience.
That we found printed in the newspaper.
Exactly. What I would say is, I don't, you give me a lot of credit. I don't think I've really offered that much advice to them, but what I would say is based on my particularly my daughter's experience, I think that intern recruiting really has become a real differentiator in terms of the recruitment process. And so the process starts much earlier. For example, my daughter last summer did an internship with Hilton Corporation, and by September of her junior year, she already knew that she had that internship. So for the following summer. So, the process is as robust as finding, your first gig out of college. It's competitive. I think that the kids today really are, as important to them as the reputation and brand of the corporation is. It's the skills that they're going to develop. So they are very honed in on what skills am I going to acquire, over the course of this internship. And I think that that's a big difference from way back in the dark ages when I did internships as a graduate student and undergrad. I think that, the work that they do based on my daughter's experience is much more integrated into the firm. It's not, I did a lot of, I would say some busy work and some meaningful project work, but it was sort of add-on kind of extra stuff that they just made up for me.
Right. Stuff that needed to get done around the office that no one else would do.
The work that she focused on was really kind of the day-to-day work that the group the marketing team that she was with was doing. So I thought it was real life and real world experience for her at an early age.
That's great. And now, you have one who's headed out to California for an internship. Yeah. And the other one doing one locally. Are they learning new skills? Because we talk a lot about a skills-based workforce, and it's fascinating to think that that's the mindset, right? Like, what skills will I gain?
Sure. Well, my son he's not doing an internship this summer. He's doing a language institute thing. So, but he's an engineering major, and already he will by fall of next semester, he will understand where he's going to do an internship in the following year. So, so he's having, I'm not an engineer, so it's difficult for me to advise him. So he's having to really, in the way that my daughter didn't, because I understood more of what she was doing, he's having to really sort of seek, information and guidance from professors, and he does a lot of informational interviews and things like that to figure out where he wants to focus. That's great. So it is a different world than when back in the.
But the key message is start early.
That's right, exactly.
That's the best piece of advice we can give you. Start early. Use your network. Use your resources.
That's right.
So great. All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, Kevin, and I look forward to our next conversation always. And thanks to all of you.